Hi, and welcome to Improved Sleep with Theresa Borg. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, life coach and teacher at Bromley Adult Education College. And today I've been asked to just teach a short, very short, bite-sized snippet of how to improve your sleep. Now obviously this is a massive subject and I'm only going to be able to cover just the tips of the iceberg, if you like, today. So I'll be giving you some theory and some practical tips and also a lovely way to relax at the end in order to ensure that you actually have a brilliant night's sleep. So let's just start with some theory. Okay, so I like to start all of my classes with a lovely thought for the day. And my thought for today is on this subject: laugh and the world laughs with you, snore and you sleep alone. So what did our mums used to tell us? Everything will seem better after a good night's sleep. And this is a quote from The 24-Hour Mind, a wonderful book on sleep and dreaming by Rosalind D. Cartwright. And she says, sleep contributes to balancing our emotional lives by modulating the negative emotions invoked by those waking experiences that threaten the present organization of our self-structure. So it's during our sleep, and this is what our dreams do, it's actually managing our emotions, clearing things, and putting things into order in the mind so that we start the next day afresh. This process continuously and creatively overlays images of older and newer images in REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, threading them together into new patterns that literally change our minds. So the mind is processing all through the night. Dreams are an ongoing window into the ongoing work of the mind during its essential night shift. So we know that sleep is very important, but really what they know now is that REM sleep, dreaming, is the most important part, because that's the part that's processing everything that's happened to you in the day, filing all of the information into the right places so that tomorrow not only have you learnt from yesterday, but you are now ready perhaps to change the way you behaved yesterday. And in this way, we're continuously improving not only our mental health, but we're also continuing to improve our physical health, because during sleep, in those periods where perhaps you're not in the REM sleep, the work is being done on a physical level to heal, to revitalize, to refresh. Now, about a third of us have experienced difficulty sleeping during our lifetimes. Now, we're not talking about the odd night, of disturbed sleep or a few days where you're waking up at certain times. What we're really talking about with insomnia is a prolonged period. Roughly 10% of the population will have experienced a genuine bout of insomnia. So that's a period. The condition can last anywhere from a few days to a few months, and unfortunately in some cases a few years. And there's different types of insomnia. There's transient insomnia. This is usually short-lived. You might have this after you've been flying. We call that jet lag, whether there's a bereavement. Now, obviously, if we think about bereavement, there's a lot to process emotionally. There's a lot to process about loss. It may bring up fears about how you're going to handle the future, etc. And so what we can see from that previous slide is during the night shift, the mind is trying to sort out all of those problems, and therefore sometimes it will want your conscious mind to be aware of what it's telling you and showing you. Secondary insomnia is the byproduct of a substance, so that could be alcohol or drugs, And if you are abusing those substances, that can affect your sleep on a longer period. Or it could be a secondary condition. So, as we know, alcohol, often when we have alcohol, it affects our sleep. We may become dehydrated in the night. We may have to wake up and go to the toilet. And obviously with other drugs, you've got the coming down period. And even with prescription drugs, they can affect your sleep as well, particularly if you're taking combinations of things. Because obviously one affects the body in one way and another may then be pushed to affect the body in another way. And there's primary insomnia. So this is insomnia of unknown origin, possibly as a result of disrupted circadian rhythms. Now, your circadian rhythms are your biological clocks, and they are affected by daylight. The way your body knows what to do is because it assesses the light all the time. We have a pineal gland, as we'll see, at the top of the head, and that is always open, if you like, and can tell whether it's night or day. So in care homes, what they found, why people are wandering all night long, is because they are under artificial light all the time. Often if they don't get to go out in that garden, or they're just sitting under those bright lights all the time in that TV lounge, for example, what that happens is their circadian rhythms can't tell when it's day and when it's night. And this also is why going outside and exercising, just even if that's just for a short walk, is really important for sleep. It's not just the exercise that's, giving oxygen to the brain and making you feel better and more restful and tiring the muscles, etc. It's also setting your circadian rhythm. And circadian rhythms affect our menstrual cycles and a whole host of other things that happen in the body automatically. So the other important thing that we need to know and understand about sleep is the balance between melatonin and serotonin. Now, the pineal gland is a small endocrine gland. As I've said, it's at the top of the head. If you know the chakras from meditation, etc., it's called the crown chakra. As a baby, the fontanelle, the soft spot at the top of the head, is kind of visible to touch, if you like, for quite a long period. I think it's up to 2 years before the skull finally seals and forms. And therefore, obviously, the pineal gland is more exposed in babies. It produces melatonin. This is why babies sleep a lot. It produces melatonin, a hormone that affects the modulation of wake-sleep patterns and the photoperiodic or the seasonal function. Serotonin is an essential neurotransmitter from which melatonin is derived. So if you have low levels of serotonin, and sometimes, that affects our happiness, etc., etc., then your melatonin will be affected. So in depression, for example, sometimes there's low serotonin levels, and those depressed people find it difficult to sleep. Well, if you find it difficult to sleep because you have less serotonin, making less melatonin, you'll have difficulty sleeping, and then you won't be able to process through dreams, through the REM sleep, everything that's happening in your life. And therefore you're going to wake up with the same problems that you went to sleep with, only more, because now you feel even more tired and even less like going out, and therefore not receiving any serotonin, melatonin from the pineal gland. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So no matter how bad you feel, getting out, doing a little bit of exercise, doing something that makes you feel good, just forcing yourself to do that, increasing those serotonin levels, is going to make you sleep better because it's producing more melatonin. So serotonin in the brain regulates mood, appetite and sleep, and also creates what is known as the feel-good vibe. Melatonin then raises when serotonin dips, and that's what puts us to sleep. And melatonin dips when serotonin rises, and that's what starts to awaken us. So sleep is about the balancing, or the seesawing, I should say really, of melatonin and serotonin. So as you can see, each step follows in a logical, reasonable way. If you're having trouble sleeping, you need to increase the serotonin, which allows the melatonin to be derived, which then makes enough serotonin and melatonin to be balanced and then create the seesaw effect of allowing you to sleep and allowing you to awake fully happy and ready to go in life. So another important thing to consider with sleep is tryptophan. Now tryptophan is important because of serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin is made from the amino acid tryptophan. As melatonin is derived from serotonin, tryptophan plays a key role in sleep. So it's not only important to understand the serotonin-melatonin relationship, but you also have to understand that both of those are dependent on how much tryptophan is in the system. Now, tryptophan is found in eggs, cheese, salmon, nuts, and turkey. That's why we all feel really happy on Christmas Day, because we have our turkey full of tryptophan and we get serotonin, which is the feel-good vibe, and then we may even feel really sleepy as the melatonin kicks in. Okay, so on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see here the recordings of a natural sleep process. Okay, so we can see that on this left-hand column it says REM, rapid eye movement, and then the box underneath, NREM, non-rapid eye movement, and then these are stages, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And you can see the pink is about emotional resolution. This is kind of just rest, nothing is happening, the white into the light blue. Stage 3 is mental relaxation, and stage 4 we have physical repair. So it's really important to understand what's happening with sleep. Now the most important part of sleep is stage 4, the darker blue, where our physical repair is being done. Now that happens within 70 to 90 minutes of going to sleep. And then we come up, as you can see, the REM sleep, the pink peaks, at the beginning of sleep are very short, very, very short. They're seconds sometimes, maybe just a couple of minutes, even though it feels to you like you've been dreaming for hours. So what's really interesting to think about in how you process sleep in the mind and not sleeping in the mind is to understand that if you've had 70 to 90 minutes sleep, of good sleep, you've had enough. You can survive on that. The body has repaired, you've relaxed the mind, and you've had the first REM sleep doing the housekeeping, if you like, mentally. So that really changes how we think about sleep. Because if you can just say to yourself, if you're having disrupted sleep, because everything is about the story we tell ourselves and how we program the mind, which programs the body. Now the body only takes instructions from the brain. It doesn't think for itself. So if you go around telling everyone, oh, I didn't sleep last night, I didn't have a wink, that's really not going to be true, because, you know, people underestimate or overestimate how much they've slept. But if you can tell the mind, I only need 70 to 90 minutes a night, then actually the body knows it's got everything that it needed, and the body will respond appropriately. It will feel okay. But if I tell myself that story, I didn't sleep a wink, and I go and I tell everybody else, and I'm complaining all day and telling my body I'm so tired, I'm actually programming that body to respond as if it's tired. And, you know, in the classes I can have time to prove this to you, how just thinking about a negative thought and seeing how your body responds. If you just continuously think about a row you've just had or a disappointment, and you just notice what happens in the body, the head drops, the shoulders drop, the energy gets heavy. Whereas if you just sit for a moment and remember the best time of your life, and you're really there and you're experiencing it and you're feeling good about it and everything like that, you will notice, if you pay attention, the shoulders come back up, the head comes up, you start to feel lighter in the chest, your energy rises. So you are continuously giving direct instructions to your body every single minute of every day. And so you need to watch the story that you're telling. So mentally, if you can just develop, and a belief is just a thought you've kept thinking over and over again, if you can develop the belief that I only need 70 to 90 minutes and I feel great, the body's done what it needed to do, the mind's done what it needed to do, if you don't sleep anymore, you won't worry. Now, obviously, we all want to sleep. They say the most valuable amount of sleep is 7.5 hours, no more, no less. And obviously, it doesn't matter odd nights if you don't have that, or it doesn't matter if an odd night you have more. What actually matters is that you have 7.5 hours over a certain period. Generally, you have that amount of sleep. So it's all about how you tell yourself the story of your sleep. So start to develop a belief by continuously telling yourself, oh, I only need 70 to 90 minutes and I've done everything I need to do. If I get more, fabulous. And if I don't, no problem. And here's the kicker. You have to wake up every single morning and go, woohoo, I feel great. Because that's the first instruction to the body. Most of us go, oh God, it's I've got to get up, it's cold, it's dark, I don't want to go to work or whatever. So my body's already being programmed to feel tired, bad, don't want to start this day. But when you go, woohoo, I'm alive, it's a great day, hallelujah, or whatever you want to do, although it sounds crazy, notice how different you feel and get straight out of bed. Because again, it's when we lie there and start telling, oh, it's too cold, I don't want to get up, that it gets harder and harder to get up. So my advice to everyone is set the alarm the minute that you have to get up, and get straight up and stretch and tell yourself what a beautiful day and I feel great. Doesn't matter what the truth is. If you do that, you have started the day on a high. You have instructed that body a different way. Okay, so when we come back to the chart, you can see that on a normal night's sleep, if we've got out of our head, we're going in and out of the different stages. Sleep is getting lighter and lighter and lighter. Those stages are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, but the REM is getting just slightly longer and longer and longer. It's still going to be a matter of minutes. And you notice that often you will wake up remembering a dream. Well, that's because that REM sleep is longer and bigger, as you can see here, towards the end of sleep. And often if we wake up there, you know, there's no difference between that being almost awake and that last period of REM, which is why often we remember a dream on waking. Okay, so now just let me give you some tips, some very easy tips on changing your sleep patterns. So we all know, take a very hot bath. But the important thing here is to take the bath 2 hours before bed and then chill. It's really important because your base temperature drops over the 2 hours, which will then bring on sleepiness. Temperature is so important for sleep. If you're too hot, those of us who may have experienced the menopause and hot flushes and things know how that will wake you up. and being too cold will also wake you up. So it's really important that the bath relaxes you, clears your mind, and then you don't do anything stimulating afterwards. Don't go on that phone with the blue light. Just chill, read a book, listen to some music, whatever it may be. Then your body is in a relaxation state, your mind is in a relaxation state, and the body temperature is slowly having a chance to settle. And so by the time you get into bed, be the correct temperature, and you'll be in such a relaxed state that you'll be able to get off quickly. Mindfulness is amazing, which we're going to do at the end, because I'm going to give you a lovely kind of self-hypnosis type meditation to help you to sleep. Something that was highlighted on Horizon documentary a year or two ago was about prebiotics and fibre. Now, this actually came out best in their tests to improve insomnia. And they believe it improves insomnia because it improves the gut bacteria, which they think affects short-chain fatty acids that positively affect the brain and mood. So if you feel better, and you feel better about your life and your day, and you feel better about your health, you know it becomes easier to sleep. So that was a very interesting finding. And they also found that kiwi fruit helps, and again that's because it's full of tryptophan, and again improves the gut bacteria. The most natural and beneficial sleep period is between 10 and 6. Again, that's to do with the circadian rhythms and light. And again, you'll notice there that's an 8-hour period. It's now known that to sleep longer than 7.5, 8 hours is detrimental, and so is sleeping less than. Now, there's lots of people that can survive on less sleep than 7.5 hours, but it may not be doing their physical health much good. So this is what the new research says, that those periods are the most beneficial, and 7.5 is what you want to be aiming for, and again as an average. Again, in a bedroom, you need to have an open window because temperature is key. And again, it's letting in oxygen, it's letting in, fresh air, it's cleaning the room. And again, as long as there's not much noise outside, that's a really good way to improve sleep. You see there, bed is only for sleep. Now, this is really important because lots of people watch telly in bed or sit in bed all day on the computer or whatever it may be. And so the brain starts to learn, because the brain is associating things together all the time. So it learns that bed is for other things, not just sleep. It needs to have its conscious mind working when you are in that bed. So if you only keep bed for sleep, you only get into bed under the covers, and you only use it for really relaxation, perhaps reading a page or two in preparation for sleep, that's a huge lesson for the mind. We've talked about stimulants. Again, alcohol. Alcohol is a stimulant and increases the chances not only of snoring, but disrupts dreaming, that REM sleep, the important part where you process everything through the day. Log your worries. Now, lots of people can't sleep because when they get into bed, the mind starts going through everything that happened through the day, or fears and worries about tomorrow. So to get all of those things just on a pad by your bed is so clearing for the mind, because you know it's there, I can deal with it tomorrow, and therefore your mind can relax into what it needs to do now, which is sleep. And in that sleep, by the time you wake up tomorrow, a lot of those worries will be healed because your mind will have done the processing. This positive association really goes back to what I was saying about bed is only for sleep. Because the brain is associating things together, choose a piece of music that you like and fall asleep with it quietly playing. Over time, your brain will associate the music with the sleep. This is what we do with babies, with lullabies. They associate that piece of music with now it's time to sleep. And again, your brain is plastic all the time, so it can still do that today. So it can be a piece of music, or it can be one of these lovely meditations. On my website, www.positivelyjoyous.com, I have free meditations, and I have ones that are particularly for sleep with self-hypnosis. Learn self-hypnosis for sleep. One has an end, one doesn't, so you can just drift off with it. And again, they're all over the internet, YouTube things as well. Now, we all underestimate how much of the night we spend sleeping. Know that simply relaxing in bed is good for you. You don't have to be asleep the whole night, because part of sleep is resting the physical body. And again, as we go back and say, if you've had that 70 to 90 minutes, you've had all you need to do for the internal physical repair, and therefore just resting and relaxing the mind is just as beneficial as actually sleeping. We've talked about programming. So again, if we come back to how much you underestimate how much of the night you spend sleeping, you'll say to yourself in the morning, oh, I didn't get a wink of sleep. I only slept, I only had about 10 minutes, when that's likely not to be true. And even if it is true, you don't want to be programming that into the mind and the body. So again, really think about your story about sleep. Doesn't matter what's happened. The sleep is in the past. What happens is what you think on waking and what story you tell yourself on waking. The other thing, just really quickly, is about segmented sleep. Lots of people will say, oh, I always wake up at 2. Well, most people will wake up between 2 and 4, because our natural sleep program for many, many years was actually 2 periods. In the olden days, perhaps, and maybe still happens in the Mediterranean countries more, where the heat is too hot during the day and they have their siestas. So some of us are programmed to actually enjoy 3.5 hours sleep, 3.5 to 4 hours, wake up, and then go back to sleep for 3.5 or 4 hours, still having the maximum amount of sleep, but just having that break in between. Now, what's important is what you think in that break. Now, if you've had any children, what do you do with a baby? You don't put the light on, go in there and start talking to it. You keep the light off, you just go over the cot, and you might put your hand on their chest to reassure them, and you might even sing their lullaby or whatever it may be, but you don't wake them up and get them into the conscious mind. So the same has to happen for us. If you find yourself stirring, becoming conscious, don't look at the clock, because then your mind's going to start worrying about how much sleep you've had, etc. Don't put a light on. Simply become aware that you're awake, and then just let yourself drift off again. Don't get into the conscious mind with any activity or story. And then that natural waking of the segments, you've just given the instruction to the brain to go back to sleep. Or if that's difficult for you at the beginning, then put that piece of music on again that will send you off to sleep. And if you can't put music on because you've got a partner or something, then you can do the relaxation that I'm going to teach you at the end. Okay, so it's really, really important that you do not look at the clock, you do not worry about it, you do not think a negative story about it. And I promise you, it will cease to become a problem. But you just have to practice this. It takes 14 days to create a new sleep pattern. Now, it doesn't usually take that long, but if you tell yourself, oh, it's okay, it takes 14 days, I just need to practice it every night, then you're more likely to succeed. If you think on the first night, oh, this doesn't work, then you are not going to get the benefit out of it. It takes time for the brain to change the programming. So practice is important. And finally, count your blessings, not sheep. It's all about the mood that you go to sleep on. This is why we pray. Thank you for my mummy, thank you for my daddy, as we used to do as children. When you feel grateful, when you feel at peace, when you feel so happy with your life, and just thinking about all the things you have to be grateful for, don't care how bad you think your life is, you've got clean, fresh, beautiful water at the turn of a tap, and most of the world doesn't have that. You've got 24-hour access to food, to drink, to entertainment, to healthcare, to education. You are the luckiest person alive living in this country or wherever you are in the world if you have those things. You've got eyes that see, ears that hear, legs that take you wherever you want to go. Air is given freely, sunshine is given freely, the beauty of nature, on and on and on you could go. So it's really important that you go to sleep on gratitude. And I promise you, you will have the most fabulous night sleep. Okay, so let me now teach you a wonderful practice for relaxation. Okay, so let us now have a wonderful experience of relaxation. So what I want you to do is to just close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to just take a lovely, slow, deep breath in. And a lovely, slow, deep breath out. In and out through the nose if possible. If you can't, that's no problem. And on that out breath, I want you to send that feeling of relaxation all the way down to the feet. So that you can start to feel those feet becoming heavy where they're resting. The next out breath sends that feeling of deepening relaxation way, way down to the ankles, where all of the tension in and around the ankles is just released beautifully. And this further relaxes the feet. That next out breath flowing deeper and deeper down the body reaches the shins and the calves, where those little nerves, muscles and fibres like little elastic bands pulled tight just lose their tension, and you can actually feel those calves sinking way, way down, either against the bed or the chair or even down towards the ankles, releasing the tension and relaxing the feet. The next deepening wave of relaxation flows all the way down to those bigger nerves, muscles and fibres in the thighs, so that you can feel again those thighs becoming loose and limp and relaxed. That releases the tension in and around the knees, further relaxes the shins and the calves, releases the ankles and relaxes the feet. And you can notice how heavy the legs feel against the chair where they're resting. The next few waves of relaxation come from the top of the neck way, way down into the sacrum. And that wave of deepening relaxation, vertebrae by vertebrae down the spine, relaxes those big sheath muscles across the back of the shoulders, across the back of the ribs and way, way down into the sacrum. And because you've relaxed those big muscles across the shoulders, you can feel the tops of the arms deeply relaxed. The elbows free, and that free-flowing feeling down the forearms through the wrists, the hands and the fingers, so that you may notice now how heavy the arms feel where they're resting. The neck and the jaw is free. And all of the little nerves, muscles and fibres around the mouth relaxing beautifully. Around the nose, totally relaxed. And all of the little nerves, muscles and fibres around the eyes and the eyelids, just relaxing so beautifully and so completely. And as the body is fully relaxed, all you need now do is to focus on that out-breath, each time sending a flow of deepening relaxation through the body. Try to have no words in your mind, just that feeling of that wonderful flow from head to toe. And each area that the breath passes through, you feel getting heavier and heavier as it sinks way, way down into the chair, or when you're doing this in bed, into the bed where you're resting. Now this should be enough to allow you to drift off to sleep, but if it's not, you may give yourself suggestions, single words, on the out-breath. And I will do this for you now. Drifting. Drifting. Deeper and deeper down. Sleepy. Sleepy. My eyes are so tired. Drifting. Now normally that would be enough to get you off to sleep, especially when you've practiced it well for a few nights, or even in the daytime when you need to relax. But for now, because that is self-hypnosis there, I'm going to now teach you how to come out of that, so that if you're doing that through the day, you can count yourself back out. If you want to have an alarm to bring you out, if there's a certain amount of time, that's fine too. And I'm going to count from 10 to 1. At the count of 1, but not before, we'll have eyes open, feeling fully alert and refreshed in every way. So get ready now. 10, 9 and 8. All useful parts of you coming back to the space, back to full awareness. 7, 6 and 5. Feeling the ankles starting to twist and the toes starting to wiggle. 4, 3 and 2. Feeling the fingers coming to life, wiggling the fingers, twisting the wrists. 1, nearly there now, nearly there. Eyes open, fully awake. Have a lovely, lovely stretch. Now that was self-hypnosis, again on my website www.positivelyjoyous.com. I have learned self-hypnosis for sleep and other things, or you can just find some meditation type downloads in order to have the same effect. But I find if you can teach yourself how to do this, then you haven't got to fumble in the night to find the phone or something to play it on. So it's always better to teach yourself how to do these things. There's different self-hypnosis techniques like counting down, through numbers if you wanted to do that. But I find that this relaxation, always start with your feet because the feet take the longest to relax, and work up the body. Then just give yourself positive suggestions for drifting, simple words said in a particular way. Drifting. Oh, on that out breath. And feeling the heaviness with that is a really powerful way to get you off to sleep. So I hope you've enjoyed this. We run mindfulness and insomnia classes at Bromley Adult Education College. Obviously, classes start again in September. There's a whole host of other classes as well, available on www.baec.ac.uk. And I look forward to seeing you there. Please like, subscribe and share. Have a fabulous day.